Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, if this isn't welcome back, where have you been? Make sure to subscribe to the channel using the big red button down below. It really does mean a lot, and we are trying to hit a target of 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2022, and you can help make that happen. Go on. It's free. Now, I'm recording this just after the end of the Manchester United versus Arsenal game, so let's talk about it as our first fixture. Anthony opening the scoring and opening his account for the season only paved the way for what was to come in a game that saw Arteta make a few mistakes, and so we're going to talk about that. I think his substitution to bring on 3 attacking subs when they were getting a little bit less of the ball, a little bit more pressure was being put on them, was a mistake to be making at such a high level when you need control. And I think that's something he'll learn from moving forward. And I think he's still a good manager, but a little bit naive still. And it's a real slap on the wrist, I think, to concede the goals in the way that they did as well. With Rashford scoring 2, I think United are now looking to get back to where they want to be, and I do think Ten Hag worked his style well in this game. So what have we learnt? Well, we've learnt that maybe the early praise that we put on Arsenal for doing so well at the start of the season, maybe we were getting carried away with it a little bit, and as they are still a very young side, there's a lot of learning that needs to take place in order for them to truly be able to compete for the top prizes in football. So next we move to Chelsea versus West Ham, a London derby in which West Ham were horrendously robbed of a point following a poor VAR call. So if we look at the game, Antonio opening the scoring with Ben Chilwell equalising and Kai Havertz scoring the winning goal. However, this really shouldn't have been the winning goal in this game, as Maxwell Cornet scored a fantastic finish into the top left corner. However, it was adjudged that Bowen had fouled Mendy. And for me, this isn't a foul. There's nothing in it. And I think that Mendy was playing, and whatever he was playing, the ref bought. And I think that at the end of the day, serious questions need to be asked of the officials and the level of officiating in this country. I personally don't think it's good enough. And we put a poll up on our Instagram at the Beatables. Go and follow it in the link below. And it just shows that there are these areas in which refereeing should be improved. And the majority of you thought bringing in foreign referees to the English game was the way forward, and I have to agree. I think there are some fantastic referees across Europe that could be brought in, and I do think that could make the difference when it comes to difficult decisions having to be made. So what have we learned? Well, I think we've learned that yes, Chelsea did have the mentality to come back and to be strong collectively to win the game, but at the end of the day, the focus is on the technology and the focus is on the officials. So we've learned that the English referees aren't good enough, if we didn't know that already. Keeping with the derbies now, and we go up to Merseyside with the early kickoff on Saturday, bringing us Everton versus Liverpool at Goodison Park. In a game where the post was hit 4 times, once by Everton and 3 times by Liverpool. On a different day, this could have been a much higher scoring fixture, but we do still have to talk about the officials. A disallowed goal and a dubious red card decision only contributed to this theme of over the weekend of poor officiating, and I think that personally Virgil van Dijk should have seen red for this tackle on Amadou Onana. It's dangerous, it's endangering your opponent, and this isn't what we want to be seeing in the game. Although I believe the goal was offside, but I think this is all distraction from a fantastic performance for Jordan Pickford, making 7 saves in the game, which is the most he's ever made without conceding in the Premier League. He managed to keep a post-shot XG of 1.9 out of his net, which means he pretty much on his own stopped 2 goals from going in, which was so important for the point for Frank Lampard's side. So what have we learnt? Well, Everton have a team now that have grit and determination, and that is exactly what Frank Lampard has been waiting for. He's got a team that fight for each other, fight for the badge, and something that I think the Everton faithful really respect is that hard-working ethic that there is within these players. I think that in time the results will follow the performances, which is only good news for a team that have struggled at the start of this season and struggled at the end of the previous campaign. Up next, we have Aston Villa versus Manchester City, and Haaland scores again with 10 goals in 6 games. He is an absolute machine, just like we mentioned last week. I really can't see him stopping, and I do think the Golden Boot will be his this season. Coming from a Kevin De Bruyne assist, which was a wonderful cross from the right-hand side, Haaland tapped into a net that was left unguarded by the goalkeeper. With Kevin De Bruyne only 2 assists away from Steven Gerrard's record, he is cementing himself as one of the great midfielders in the Premier League era and showing just how good he really is in this Manchester City side. If we look at the other goal in the game, Leon Bailey equalised with a fantastic effort from just inside the 18-yard box, which is showing that there are a few issues in this Man City defence, as they've conceded 1 to Aston Villa, 2 to Crystal Palace and 3 to Newcastle United, albeit 1 was a fantastic free kick. It shows that there's these frailties within the squad, and despite spending more money on another new centre-back, I can see why Pep doesn't quite have the belief in the defence that maybe he'd like. But this isn't something I thought I'd be saying, but there is a fragility there to the Man City defence, and if a team wants to play football properly and in the right way, there are going to be openings, and I do think that's where you can hit Man City the hardest. And of course, we can't talk about the Man City game without discussing another area of referee incompetence when they disallowed a perfectly legitimate goal from Felipe Coutinho, which could have won Aston Villa the game. And I think that when you're making these decisions on a borderline, you need to use VAR. You can't blow early, because how can anyone tell without using the technology that's there? And I think that a goal like that could have won them the game and could have been so important for this Aston Villa side to cement themselves a little bit further up the table, and it's resulted in a goal not being given despite its complete legitimacy. So again, this theme of poor officiating is following around like a bad smell in the league this weekend, and hopefully something is done moving forward to help get rid of it. So what have we learned? Well, Man City have now dropped points in 2 of their last 4 games to Newcastle and Aston Villa, and I think that them showing this side that they didn't really have in previous seasons where they were at their imperious best is starting to show that there's something now that teams can go for when they play Man City, and that's not something that Pep Guardiola would want his side displaying in the Premier League. Finally, we touch on one of the best stories of the weekend, and that is Bournemouth coming back from 2-0 down to beat Nottingham Forest away. I think Gary O'Neill may have just passed his interview to become permanent manager following what was such an important result and a very, very important 3 points for the South Coast club. With goals from Philip Billing, Dominic Solanke and Jayden Anthony completing the comeback for the Cherries, I think that's exactly what they needed. Interestingly, Dominic Solanke seems to be the player that they're looking for now, as his overhead kick and assist helped them on their way to the 3 points. So what have we learnt? Well, I think that Bournemouth now have this catalyst in their squad that they're able to look to for inspiration and can give them goals and assists and sort of be involved with the play whenever he's needed. And I think this man is Dominic Solanke, and hopefully he can come into his own just like Mitrovic has for Fulham in the Premier League this season. Now that wraps up the 5 things we've learned in the Premier League this weekend, but before we end the video, we're going to be taking a look at my FPL pick for game week 7. So who is it going to be? Well, for me, it's Josh Da Silva from Brentford, the midfielder in a team that's performing so well off the back of their 5-2 win over Leeds. I think against Southampton, there's a real chance there for him to do something. An honourable mention would be Ivan Toney following a fantastic hat-trick from a penalty, free kick and an audacious lob over the goalkeeper, which was absolutely sensational. However, for me, I'm going with Josh Da Silva for game week 7. So that wraps up what we learnt from game week 6. I'd love to know your thoughts, so please do comment down below. Remember to drop a like if you enjoyed the video and to subscribe for more content coming your way very, very soon.